Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Convention with the weekly comic book roundup. We're going to get started this week with this week's X-Men books, Spider-Man related book, and a Star Wars book, too. Opening things up with Hellions, number 11. Where we left off in Hellions, the Hellions were the prisoners of Arcade and Mastermind. While the team themselves were being put through various illusions and to keep them occupied, Sinister was forced to build Arcade a clone farm after having many of his teeth forcibly removed. The issue starts off with the illusions of Psylocke and Grey Crow merging into one, with Grey Crow basically finding Psylocke. But she's resisting Mastermind, basically. Sinister's building a clone farm for him. Mastermind's daughter is still being held hostage by Arcade. There's a letter to Arcade, basically explaining why it was he needed to get Sinister to make his clone farm, but apparently someone else tried, but Arcade wasn't satisfied with the results and murdered the head scientist. But anyway, Psylocke and Grey Crow into havoc, and eventually the rest of the team, and soon enough the rest of the team, as well as all of their everything they're running from, they fight the denizens of everyone's illusions, but Psylocke manages to escape and gets into Mastermind's head. And so doing manages to escape it all overall. And Mastermind informs Psylocke it was all part of the plan. Mastermind agreed to work with Arcade to get his daughter back. Sinister agreed to go along with Mastermind's plan so he could have a new clone farm to run under his specifications. And yeah, also Arcade is left in an illusion of his own. Upon returning, turns out the Mastermind is convinced the Hellions that they say that they decidedly saved the day. They are all quite happy, except for Psylocke, who knows the truth. But Psylocke is not happy with what's happened. And basically threatens to kill Mastermind if he ever even so much as looks her way. Before she does that, however, Mastermind does inform her that Grey Crow does like her, because, well, he peeked. But we're beginning to see that whatever the deal that Psylocke made with Sinister is definitely going to be tested. That is where the issue ends. To be perfectly honest, all of this books it looks like are going to be getting all of the various Krakens in place for the Hellfire Gala. Which brings us to our next book, though. Marauders number 20. Um, the Marauders recently fought off fought the Verendi government in Madripoor, and basically taken over Lowtown as a mutant sanctuary, as yet another mutant sanctuary, run by some of the other Morlocks. Much to the chagrin of the Verendi government. So the issue begins with an email from Emma to Kate, talking about Kate's look for the show, and bringing up the fact that she has procured something for Kate's outfit. An ethically a colorless E classification, fairly sourced diamond in the shape of an X with a bullet on it, to remind everyone of the time that Kate Pride literally saved the entire Earth by herself. Since Kate is far too modest to actually ever bring that up in conversation, though she should. It ends with a PS asking Kate that if she were to gift the brooch to an urchin, please don't tell Kate or Emma. But everyone reminisces about Storm. In fact, it begins with Pyro giving Storm a marker. He had bet that he'd end up leaving the Marauders before she did. Well, she is leaving the Marauders. But so he shares his favorite story, which was fairly recently. They were in India at a shipyard. A young mutant girl named Lash is in charge of breaking ships. But Storm informs the girl that her family's the Marauders have already rescued her family, and it's time for her to come home. And then it is brought up how many knives Storm has, and so Pyro proposes to get another bet. Winner gets a marker from the others. Question: how many knives does Storm have? Price is Right rules are in effect. Closest without going over. Pyro's guess is 3. Bishop's favorite Storm story actually is one that Storm wasn't even involved in. Him and Pyro threatened some Angolan soldiers into freeing mutants, mutant prisoners, by since there was a storm going on at the time, insisting that it was Storm herself who was behind it. His guess on number of knives is 7. Callisto insists that they're all in for a surprise. Iceman guesses 10 blades. His story actually has her in it. Apparently, after the fight in Madripoor recently, the two of them ran into the Hate Monger, and Storm whooped his bitch ass, and he left his very pointedly designed costume in a Madripoor dumpster. It seems that the Callisto says she's got a lot of good Storm stories, but there's only one that really matters, and it seems to be her post-Crucible resurrection. And she's not going to guess how many blades that Storm's got. And Emma's favorite Storm story, Emma just declines to take a guess because she can cheat, which doesn't really see. I would presume, yeah, it does fit. What's to be gained from a marker from the others that she can't already get, basically, from them without the marker. Her favorite Storm story was from one of the first encounters between the two. Storm smacked her in the face, and Emma says a physical rebuke from Storm has a lasting effect, not just on the body but also on the mind. The kind of exchange that makes you question a great many things about the life you led, and even if you might not deserve it, she still offers her hand to raise you up. But then Emma, Emma thanks Storm for being at the Hellfire Trading, being at Hellfire Trading's back during their launch, and heads to bed. Kate's favorite story is a postscript to her first attempt to use a gate. If you'll recall, Kate can't use the Krakoan gates. But, yeah, she walked right in face first into the gate and broke her nose. And Storm set it back into place. And all the blades are brought out. Appears to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Though neither Bishop or Pyro think that that's all the blades. On the deck, Emma talks some with Lockheed, who's navigating, and also runs into Shaw. Apparently, Shaw was apparently in his youth, Sebastian Shaw voraciously read Captain Blood and Treasure Island and similar books. And he says that, Krakoa, the Gala, tremendous accomplishments, and he should be happy for mutantdom. But he hasn't been happy for years, if ever. And he mentions that he wishes that Lourdes Chantal was there. Saying she deserved better. It's added that she was killed by the Sentinels before Cerebro was ever brought online. And apparently, Shaw has an idea which he'll be bringing to the council along with the Hellfire expedition proposal. And he's hoping for Emma's support on both. There's also a write-up about the Hellfire Trading Company and the children of the subsection of Krakoan society known as the Children of the Marauders. Mutants from around the globe who have one thing in common. Being delivered from their old lives by the Hellfire Trading Company. Apparently the video that of Kate basically saying, if you can't get to a gate, let us know. We'll come get you. And that is where the issue ends. But yeah, this month's X books will all be getting ready for the Hellfire Gala, which that's fine by me. Next up, we've got Carnage, Black, White, and Blood, number 3. Once again, we got 3 Carnage tales. No Survivors by Dan Slott and Greg Smallwood, Sea of Blood by Carlo Pacheco and Chris Mooneyham, and The Convention by Alyssa Wong and Gerardo Sandoval. So, No Survivors takes us at an indeterminate point in Carnage's history. He slaughtered a club. Sound engineer for the band that he slaughtered survived basically by hiding under the bodies until Spider-Man and Human Torch showed up. But apparently, Carnage was, of course, apprehended afterwards and swore up and down that he never leaves anyone alive. They're all dead. They just don't know it yet. And he starts to wonder, looking at little specks of blood from him, and starting to see Carnage's face in them. During an ultrasound, he briefly sees Carnage's face, and the doctor suggests maybe he needs therapy. So he goes to a therapist. And it's unclear whether or not he's actually, there's a bit of Carnage in him that's telling him this, or if he's just paranoid that there is that his survivor's guilt the potential survivor's guilt is kind of being manipulated by his survivor's guilt is being projected into being Carnage. But he turns up his stereo, tries to get rid of the what he thinks is the symbiote in there. That doesn't work, so he goes after Carnage's other known weakness, fire. And sets his apartment building on fire. Spidey's able to save almost everyone in the building. Except for him. Because it seemed like Blake didn't want to survive. The story ends with a guard at Ravencroft asking Cletus how Carnage was able to get the guy, and Carnage says that he had no idea about what the guard's talking about. And that makes the guy's death even better. Next we have a retelling of, another kind of temporarily bent Carnage tale. Carnage is a pirate on the Seven Seas, Captain Cletus Cassidy. We've also got Norman Osborn as part of the crew. There's Ganger, there's Francis, Shriek, Goblin, Demo Goblin. Basically, you've got analogs for all of Carnage's family, at least most of Carnage's family from Maximum Carnage. But they're searching for something particular, and they found it. A great treasure. But the rest of the crew, they figure that Cletus isn't, as he is, he's not that even-tempered, so maybe they should have the treasure themselves. Or at least Francis should. However, Cletus kills her and the rest of the crew. And once again sets sail, where the Queen's privateer himself, Admiral Edward Brock, alongside Captain John Jameson, come upon his ship. The usual ship-to-ship battle of the day doesn't seem to be doing much good. But Brock heads over to Carnage's ship, fights Cletus hand to hand, and just as Cletus is about to kill him, he states that Brock fought admirably, but he's not going to survive. And Brock informs him, Kathy wasn't trying to. As he lights a match, and the pitch that was tossed onto the boat catches, and the boat explodes. And the monstrous treasure floats to the bottom of the sea, where it seems to infest a dead body underneath, which is where the story ends. Finally, we've got the convention. A bunch of kids dressed up as Spider-Man characters come upon someone cosplaying as Carnage, and they get their picture with them. It's at Comic-Con. A member of the Cult of Carnage brings the cosplayer back into the chamber they've got. Apparently, a few other Carnage cosplayers are handy as well. But they're going to sacrifice the cosplayers, so they begin with the new arrival. And after they stab him multiple times, he reveals himself to be the real deal. And he reveals that cosplay is why he loves Comic-Con. But he kills the cultists, and the other cosplayers leave. And he heads back out onto the convention floor, looking for some food, some real food, because he's starving. But that is where the issue ends. The convention was definitely a fun one, but I really dug that first story. That was something. And now for our final book for this video, Star Wars: War of the Bounty Hunters, Alpha. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, Han Solo was frozen in carbonite at the end of Empire Strikes Back, and taken by Boba Fett, who was taken to Jabba the Hutt to collect Jabba's bounty on the Corellian smuggler. The issue begins with Boba Fett informing Bib Fortuna, Jabba's major domo, that he's got Solo, he's on his way. But something on one of the consoles on the carbonite beeps, and he notices something's wrong with how Han looks in the carbonite. So he tells Fortuna they'll call him back. And on Narshada, he gets a diagnosis. The carbonite matrix is unstable, which doesn't surprise the expert, as there's an organic inside. Said expert can keep Han alive, but it's going to cost Fett. However, Fett explains that he's kind of waiting to get paid before he can't pay the dude, because he's waiting to get paid himself. And but Fett has made a deal. Take care of a pit fighter that cost dude a bundle. They're square. In fact, Dude will even front Fett's entry fee into the pit fights. And to disguise himself, he uses some nano spray paint to paint his armor completely black. Then he calls himself Django. Upon seeing the arena, he has a brief flashback to holding up his father's decapitated head during the Battle of Geonosis. But he promptly goes for headshots on every opponent. Johnny the Sting takes a spear through the skull. Skullacon gets his head destroyed by Fett. His third opponent gets his head sliced clean off. Big Bot takes a blaster bolt right between the eyes. But he's made it to the title bout. And fighters of a arachnid race. He uses the rocket from his jetpack to take her down. But yeah, he does manage. He does get injured, but yeah, he wins. But the Kanji gang are after him. And while normally he'd say his winnings, instead He just says, you know what, keep the wings. I got other stuff to worry about. Before he gets back to where he needs to be, though, his benefactor is killed and Han is stolen. Fett finds him just as he's being contacted by Jabba and Bib Fortuna. Though Boba kind of says, "Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll be there. It's gonna be a little bit." And so begins the War of the Bounty Hunters. This month's Star Wars books, Star Wars Bounty Hunters, Darth Vader, and Dr. Aphra, each are the prologues to their tie-in stories. Kind of to set the stage for what the cast of each book is going to be doing during the War of the Bounty Hunters. I kind of dig the fact that they're going into that, and also going in. I like the fact they're going into what happened between Empire and Jedi when it comes to Boba Fett. However, the fact of the matter is that the novel Shadows of the Empire kind of did the same thing in the 90s. It's going to be real hard to tell a story that doesn't feel like it's just, aping Shadows. But we'll see. Anyway, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal account in the description box down below. And I forgot to give opinions on each of this video's books. Hellions, ample into the current arc. It'll be interesting to see how the Hellfire Gala affects the Hellions. The description from the Hellfire Gala official guide is that the Hellions will not be in attendance. Marauders, nice flashbacks. I dug them. I really dug it. I really like them. With Carnage, I especially love the Dan Slott story. That was really great. But all three stories were pretty strong. The last one was quite amusing, actually. War of the Bounty Hunters, that's going to be interesting, and I'm looking forward to going through it. We will be covering, with War of the Bounty Hunters, we will be doing a monthly catch-up video, much like we did with King in Black, Empire, Death Metal, and so forth. But that's all for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.